Hello and welcome to your video lesson on concessions and conclusions. You'll notice I'm not starting with a recap from Google Classroom because we're here at the end. We're working on the last paragraphs. So I'm figuring by now you hopefully know what's going on. If not, take a look at your Google Classroom. Everything you need is there. So you'll remember that for this paper here that we've been using for all our examples, our thesis is everyone should own a dog. So our concession is going to need to deal with counter arguments against owning a dog. But before we can start talking about those counter arguments, we're going to need a topic sentence for our concession. Remember, your reader is not reading your outline. Your reader is going to be reading the paper where you put all of this. So you're not going to have these cues for your reader to know that this is what you're talking about. So you've got to make it clear for your reader. You got to give them a signal to show them that they're about to be reading your concession where you acknowledge the opposing argument. And so here's one way of doing that. However, some might oppose universal dog ownership. So address that, hey, there might be someone who disagrees with my topic. Use the phrasing that you need to best use here to address just this idea that, hey, I'm going to be acknowledging what the opposing argument might be for this topic. So, and as with all of your writing, once you've got your topic sentence down, showing what this paragraph's going to be about, you got to start filling the content in of the paragraph. As with most of these paragraphs, this one's going to need evidence, where your evidence is your quotes. What you're going to do is you're going to acknowledge some of the counter arguments, some of the arguments that go against what your claim is, and you're going to crush those arguments using evidence. So maybe one argument against dog ownership might be cat people. So here's what I did. One of the loudest arguments against everyone owning a dog is the concern that cat people may not benefit from dog ownership. Baker addresses this concern in his research when he explains that while cat people may be apprehensive, test cases show that they too benefit from dog ownership. And then I've got the rest of my citations. So I've got the last name here. So that means I've got the year and the page number here. Notice for page number I do P dot and then I have the number. I've got the period here at the end and then a space, remember? Additionally, as you're working on citations, remember that the last page of your packet is all the information you need on citations. This last page of your packet is everything you need to know about your citations. Please use your resources. So, and then every time we use a quote, you know that what we need to do next is to explain what the quote's doing and why it matters. So when we have this quote here, when I explain it, I'm going to say dog ownership is for everyone, even cat people, because I've explained what it's about and why it matters to our argument. To move on to the next topic that I'm addressing, the next argument that I've got to counter, I might move on and say another concern is, as with your body paragraphs, you need at least 2 uses of textual evidence here. You need at least 2 quotes in this paragraph. Remember, you can definitely have more than 2 quotes in a paragraph, but your minimum is going to be 2. So typically that's going to mean you're going to need to address at least 2 different arguments. You're going to need to typically address 2 different arguments. You can address no more than 4. After you start addressing 4, you start making your argument look a little too weak. So you're going to address each major argument. Now, the reason I say major argument is if, this is an article or a research paper saying why everyone should own a dog. If you just dealt with a minor issue such as not everyone wants to own a poodle, well, that's not worth addressing. You know that's an easily fixed issue. It's not worth addressing or talking about. You want the major issues that are going to address a lot of people, okay? So another thing we might address would be the funding. How are we going to help people own dogs? Because that is expensive. Dog ownership is expensive. But you'll pick the major arguments that apply to whatever topic you chose. If you need help coming up with those, just chat with me. You know I'm here to help. So once you've addressed these arguments using your quotes, your evidence to prove them wrong, then you're going to need something to conclude this paragraph, okay? Once again, this is a moment where you can kind of change up, use my phrasing to fit what you're doing. So while some arguments against universal dog ownership might exist, they're quickly addressed and resolved by the findings of Baker and other credible researchers, okay? I'm just giving a nod to the fact that, hey, I'm addressing your claims with the research from these people. And this is why I am correct. Once again, if you want to use this phrasing, you're more than welcome to kind of borrow my phrasing here. If you want to do your own thing, you're more than welcome to do that as well. That's how you write your concession paragraph. You've now got your instruction on the concession paragraph, which means that you are finally ready to move on to your conclusion, the very last paragraph. Now remember, you've got 5 pages of work here. This conclusion's on your 5th page. Your reader's done a lot of reading, and so you're going to need to kind of give them a little bit of a recap, a little bit of a review, so they know what you're talking about. However, just review is boring and ineffective. So along with your review, you also want maybe a little bit of reflection. So when it comes to restate your point in your argument, you're going to restate your thesis in a way that is informed by what you've proven in your topic sentences, your body paragraphs. You're going to restate that thesis in a way that's kind of informed by your body paragraphs. So remember, our thesis here was everyone should own a dog, and in our body paragraphs, we talked about why dogs ownership is good for us, why it makes us happier, why it makes us healthier. And so here what I've done is I've said research supports that universal dog ownership is the way to a happier, healthier future. Next, you want to help your reader really understand, why are you doing this? Why was all this worth reading? What do I do with this new information? And so you're going to call your audience to do something with this. You're going to explain and give doable steps to implementing and or acting on your research. So if you're saying the school should add a certain type of class, maybe in the concession you talked about funding, but here maybe you're going to address how you're going to get that funding, why this is worthwhile, what is the first, second, third steps. Now these don't need to be detailed steps because this is a research paper, not a how-to. But by having these moments where you're getting to talk about what to do next, it also shows that you know what you've done with your research, you know why your research matters. For this paper about dog ownership, it means that I'd explain how to organize everyone owning dogs. How would I address adoption, supplies, funding, etc. Once again, I don't need to go into detail here, just 2, 3, maybe 4 sentences kind of giving these, hey, this is the steps that we're doing here. And that leads you to the very last sentence of your 5-page paper. Remember, this is 5 pages of content. If you find, once you've added everything into your formatted document, that you don't have 5 pages, typically you're going to want us to add some more evidence to your body paragraphs. Usually you're going to want to add more evidence, more quotes to your body paragraphs. If you need help with that, as always, just let me know and send me an email, plan to meet with me, something like that. So with that, you want a conclusion that is memorable, that is powerful, that is interesting, exciting. And keep in mind, if you get a good, powerful mic drop moment in here, you'll also be able to use this in your presentation as your mic drop moment for your presentation as well. And so without further ado, our snappy conclusion, our punny conclusion for this paper is, the question is no longer who let the dogs out, but rather who let the dogs in. So I hope that either gave you a giggle or maybe you had a frustrated go because you hate puns. But either way, I hope you enjoyed. You have, with this, received all of the instruction on your research paper. You'll be receiving another piece of information later on showing you how to format all your information from this organizer. But again, with that, you have received instruction on the content of writing a research paper. You now have a skill that you'll be able to use in college, and as well as transferable skills that you can use anywhere. Good luck, and get some good writing done.